Hey, how's it going? Today's topic is how to create Flutter canvas animations. In Flutter, there are two types of animations. Twin animations, which stands for in between. Those are animations with the predefined starting and ending points and hence duration. And physics-based animations. We're gonna use the first type, and here's what it's gonna look like. So we're gonna animate those crosses and O's. And this tutorial is not related to tic-tac-toe in any ways. I'm gonna create a new project. Just using those animations to improve my previous project. Let's create a new project. If you're not familiar with the concept of canvas animations, in a nutshell, it's a set of instructions to draw shapes, paths, and every 16 milliseconds you change values used to draw those shapes, and then call your instructions again to redraw everything. What I want first is just a boilerplate code. You need to have a custom paint with the painter, which I'm gonna create here. Let's first create a cross shape. It's gonna be an implementation of a custom painter, which you need here. Alright, and we need to implement two of those functions. Paint is the function that I described before, is basically a set of instructions to draw different shapes. Should repaint is a function that returns a boolean. The way Flutter canvas animations work is they create a new instance of your custom painter on each frame. So every 16.6 milliseconds they create a new instance of this class, and depending on the value that this function returns, it decides whether to call paint function or not. Now, for now, let's return just true because it doesn't matter. And I'm using $2, which doesn't need new keywords. So let's check. First, I prefer to print my input and its size to make sure that my canvas is of the correct size for debugging purposes. Next, let's draw a basic rectangle just to see if everything works. You can do this with draw rect. You can create a rect using offset, which is top left point, and a size like that. Now let's create a paint. Alright, we can use this paint here. And yeah, let's check if it works. No, did I paste it here? Alright, and nothing is drawn because my size is 0. That's because the size of canvas is 0. I need to change some stuff in the layout that wraps the whole thing. Gonna use a aspect ratio. And now let's try. Yes, now it works. The size is correct. Now let's see how we can create our cross shape. It's pretty simple. You just draw two diagonal lines using canvas draw line. First one is the top left point, and the bottom right point. And the second line starting from top right point. Basically it doesn't matter because it's just a square. Oops. Here it is. Now let's give it some margin. We can do that here just by wrapping our custom paint in a container. And give it 32 padding. Oops, it needs like that. Right, and here's our cross. Now let's see how we can animate it. Now since there's gonna be a bit of animation related code, it's better to create a widget to make it cleaner and not put your code in one class. So I'm gonna create actually this. I'm gonna rename to cross paint now. Cross painter. And create a widget class. I'm gonna extend a stateful widget. And it's gonna need a state. All right. Now this is gonna be just as what I have here. For now. And here I'm gonna put my newly created widget. Let's test it. Yes, it works the same. and we're gonna put our animation related code in cross state. So canvas animations are based on animating a double value from 0 to 1, which is a fraction of the whole animation. Let's put a field called fraction. And this custom painter needs to have it as a field as well. Now, as I said, this object is recreated on every frame, so this constructor is gonna be called every time. I'm not sure if that's the most optimized solution, because it's never good to create new objects 60 times per second. I'm gonna figure out the better way later. I've seen this approach in many examples, so I'm gonna use it for now. Now, as you see, shouldRepaint function gives you an instance of your class from the previous frame. And based on that, you figure out if you need to repaint or not. Now, if the fraction of older is not equals to current one, then we need to repaint. Let's print out our fraction for debugging. And animate all those values. Now, in order for you to trigger shouldRepaint function, you need to call a set state of the widget that we have here, of this cross. Now let's create our twin animation. Now, animate function takes a controller. Now, the only value that I'm gonna use is duration. Let's give it a duration of 2 seconds for now. And it takes a required vsync argument. This is a time provider instance, which you can create this way. I'm not sure how this thing works yet. Let's skip it for now. Now let's add a listener to get a value. You can get it using animation value. Let's print it first. And also you need to call a controller forward function, which actually starts the animation. Here's our animated value from 0 to 1, and let's apply it to our canvas by changing our fraction field inside of a set state. Now here's what it looked like. Both lines are animated at the same time. What the solution I came up with is just to check for value. If it's less than 0.5, I'm gonna animate this line, otherwise the right one. But first I need two fractions from 0 to 1 based on the input fraction. I'm gonna create left line fraction and for right line as well. Let's apply those to our lines. Right, and we got a starting point for right line. That's because of a rounded stroke, which we can solve by wrapping this code and checking for fraction if it's more than 0.5. Let's speed it up a bit. Alright, and we're done with the cross animation. Now let's get to a circle. This one is gonna be easier. Let's copy it here. Now animating circle is really easy. All we need is to set our paint style to a stroke so that we don't fill our circle, and call a canvas draw arc, which takes a rect similar to what we used in our first example. angles here are in radians. It starts from 90 degrees, so we need to set a start angle to minus p/2, which is going to be the top. Let's draw 180 degrees first. Alright, it works, and all I need to do is just to animate this value. Let's see. Yes, here it is. Here's our circle animation, much easier than cross one. Alright, it wraps for Flutter canvas animations. I hope it was useful. You can get the source code in the description. Click like if you liked it, subscribe, I'll talk to you later.